Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Ale here. Thank you for hopping on here. If you are new to this channel, hello, welcome. We're going to be talking about my hemorrhoidectomy. To be precise, I wanted to make a video from a couple of questions that folks have been throwing at me. Surprisingly, well, excitedly, that video, all the videos talking about my hemorrhoidectomies have been received really well, which is the goal, because first of all, I didn't care. I was going to talk about it either way, but it just makes me feel so good that there are other people that were like me and felt that way, and to see that like you're not alone. So I gathered a couple questions from folks who have been messaging me on Instagram and also on here, and I wanted to also provide some tips. I must preface this, I'm not a doctor, so let me throw that disclaimer there. I'm not a doctor. I'm just telling you guys my experience. Hopefully some of the things you are able to use, but please do talk to your physician first and make sure you guys are talking together and correlating that communication, so that way there's no delays in your healing. So with that being said, this is all just going to be my timeline, and hopefully tidbits of it are able to help you out, and that way you can have a smoother recovery. So with that being said, let's get started. So I have my clipboard here. I was gonna do it on my iPad, but it just, you can't beat the feeling of paper and pen. Start off with the timeline. A couple of tips that I want to let you guys know is buy Sitz Bath. So Sitz Bath, I hadn't purchased one. I had one at my parents' place, but when I moved here with Andrew, we hadn't purchased one. And I remember purchasing that maybe like the third day after surgery, and I was like, I should have done this earlier. So right off the bat, I'm going to tell you guys, get a Sitz Bath. If you have a tub, you can also do that. And coupling with that, make sure you clean your tub before you get the surgery, because you want it to be clean and you want to cover all your bases. So do that before as best as you can, or if you have a partner or family member or friend, have them help you out as well. I did get a message on Instagram, and she was wondering, you know, how long it takes, like what's the recovery process like. And again, like I told her, it really depends on your body. Like for me, it hurt really, really, really bad. But for some other people, they were back to work in like 2 weeks. So it really depends. The secretary at my surgeon's office, she also told me, she's like, no, you should be fine in like 2 weeks, right? But it hurts so bad that, you know, I guess for me, it was really painful. So, yeah, buy a Sitz Bath, clean your tub ahead of time. RectiCare, RectiCare, RectiCare. I wrote that 3 times. So RectiCare is, I'll put it over here. It is basically lidocaine, so it numbs your butt. So it numbs the area. And you could do that even if you have hemorrhoids right now. So if you're watching this and you currently have the hemorrhoids still, use it. You can still use it, because I've been using it post-op, and I'll explain why. But it is really good. You could put it on maybe, and it's a little tricky because my surgeon told me, he's like, when you feel like you need to go, you should just put it on. But sometimes you really gotta go. So there's like, you know what I mean? Like you can't really time things like that. But to the best of my ability, if I kind of feel like maybe I need to go shortly, then I'll go ahead and apply the RectiCare, and then by the time I do go, then it's less painful. So I do recommend RectiCare though, 110%. Check it out, please. I'll link it down below if you're interested. I'm not affiliated, but if you click through the Amazon link, I do get a little bit back. So just being transparent with you guys, and if you do, thank you, and if you don't, thank you. I hope it still helps you. So other than that, I would also recommend water. So obviously you need to be hydrated. Make sure you have the 5-gallon ones if you're able to get those. If not, you can order alkaline water or use Amazon Fresh or Prime. Amazon Fresh was very instrumental because with COVID and everything happening, my mom couldn't be here to help me out. Like Andrew helped me out a bunch. And I'll get to that in a second. But my mom usually makes like soups from home, you know. So I was totally out. So what I did is I prepped for it, and we ended up making soup, and we put it in the freezer. So then whenever I got hungry post-op, I was able to have some soup. But I'm not gonna lie to you, when you're feeling like that, and I ordered Progresso. So I tended to get the chicken noodle soup, low sodium, try to keep it easy peasy. You could also throw a bunch of veggies in a blender and go ahead and have that. My surgeon did suggest that I include fiber right away, but I did not go that route because I've also heard horror stories when folks put too much fiber and they were like, it was like third day post-op, and they were it was too soon. It was too soon for them. So my recommendation, what I ended up doing, let's go back to the timeline. So I got the surgery November 30th. Today is February 18th. So it's about 3 months, 2.5 months. So November 30th, I got in 11 a.m. If you guys haven't seen the videos, I'll link it over here and I'll link it down below so you guys can see that timeline because I did record it. I did want to have that to look back so I didn't forget, which is ironic because now I'm like, oh my God, like I don't remember how it felt like, but I'm glad I did record it because that threw it back to me and I'm like, okay, I could see that I was obviously uncomfortable and it really hurt. So just a side note, if you guys do want to do that, not saying you have to record it, but if you do want to do that, it'd be something for you to look back, because now I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, like I remember struggling with all of that, you know, just leading up to it, and now I feel great. So it's a little thing where it's, if you want to have that impact then for yourself, then go ahead and record it. If not, then just watch me. So right in the surgery, it was delayed. I went in the morning. The night before, I had an enema. And then 4 hours before the surgery, I had to have another enema. So I did the enema myself. And that just cleans you out. So even before that, you have to stop eating at around 12, like the day before that. So it's slowly cleaning you out. So by the time you go into surgery, you're already cleaned out, in theory. Some folks, I guess, you know, they don't. But, which also my surgeon did tell me. So don't try to skip on it if you're watching this. Don't do that, because he said he actually had to send folks home because they refused to follow instructions. So please, please, please stick to the script on this. Like, you want to get in and out. I know it's annoying, but you want to get in and out and get in recovery so the hemorrhoids are gone as fast as possible. So please heed that. So once I got out, well, when I was in surgery, well, before that, I was waiting. They check your blood, all that jazz. And I was just waiting in the room. When I went into the operating table, I was just like, oh my God. So, because it was my first time under general anesthesia. So I was freaking out. I'm like, okay. But the guy was super nice, super sweet guy. And I was like, okay. And the other nurse, he's like, you can be all right, darling. Because he had an accent, but he was so sweet. And that made me feel better. So, you know, if you're scared, just try to talk to the nurses. Just try to be a little like talkative. And even if you are super nervous, you could tell them, and like 90% of the time they're gonna give you positive feedback. They'll be like, it's okay. They'll just reassure you that you're fine. You can let them know if the needle is like really uncomfortable, because for me, they put it at such a weird angle that I was like stuck like this, so they had to reposition it. So just feel free to, you know, you belong there too. You're going through it, you know, they'll be there to help you out. So don't be shy on that. I know it is scary because I got scared, but you know, don't be shy. And even up until they put the anesthesia, I was like, okay, so they're like, do you have anything you want? I'm like, I have a deviated septum. And then he was like, you'll be okay. Don't worry, sweetie. And I'm like, okay. So then the last thing I remember, I was counting down. Yeah, I didn't even, it was like 10. Now I got to 8, guys. I got to 8 and I was out. So 10, 9, 8, boom. And it's like automatic. You're just like, you just KO. So I know there are, for some situations, they don't have general anesthesia. They have localized. Please, please, please do everything you can to get general anesthesia. Because no. You just don't want to be awake for that. You want a professional to be administering the good stuff, so you're out cold and you don't feel anything. Because there's also been stories where folks wake up through that and but my fear was, it was swept away after that. And then I woke up, and when I woke up, I was groggy. But you know, the nurse was talking to me and I was already rolled out, and she's like, everything went fine. You were bleeding a little bit, but she's like, so if you see blood like on your gown, that's why. But they closed it up, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I was just like kind of a little, you know, So I stayed there for a little bit. And also I will say, for me, in my particular case, I told them I suffer from nausea. So whenever I had to have any surgeries or even minor ones, I would get really nauseous. So like when they did the colonoscopy before, when this journey started, I was so nauseous. So I told them, I was like, hey, I get really nauseous. Can you please? And the anesthesiologist will ask you. So if you're prone to like throwing up, or you just get nauseous, or you just want that, and that's security, and you're able to medically, I would say go for it. Again, talk to your doctor. But if you're able to and everything's greenlit, yeah, I did that, and it helped out a lot, because I didn't feel nauseous. And there was like a gentleman next to me. He just hurled. He just threw up. You can't really see, but I heard it, and I was like, oh man. So I told her, I was like, hey, like, you know, nausea, like to follow up the anti-nausea, because they administer it while you're like knocked out, but also like through the IV. But also when you wake up, they ask you like, are you in pain? Do you feel anything? I didn't really feel anything. I was kind of numb. So I was like, I don't feel anything, but can I have anti-nausea? Because I already know that I'm going to react. So they gave me that. I had no, they gave me like a hard, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was morphine, but it was like a gnarly, it was a tiny little pill. And it was like, if I remember, I'll put it here, but it was really, really powerful. They're like, you only need one. It wasn't Vicodin, it wasn't Norco, but it was like some hard stuff. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll just take that just in case, because it wasn't hurting a lot. But if you can't, always cover your butt on that, because, you know, that helped me out later, and I'll explain to you why. So once that happened, then Andrew he stayed there the whole time in the car. So then he just turned around, scooped me up. And when the nurse took me out, and I was like, okay, good, you know, getting some air, fine. And then I had a pillow. He brought a pillow for me for my butt. Just so it was like a little more comfortable, but I was kind of leaning on the side. I'm telling you guys, like the first day, you don't really feel anything, because you're still, you know, you're high off everything, and you're just like, okay. So I was kind of there. So then this is also where I wrote down, I'm like, please ask your surgeon or a surgery center if they will have the Norco, Vicodin, or whatever prescription they sent you available, because I didn't do that. And we were in Glendale. So we were in Glendale, so, which is like maybe like an hour away from where we live. If there's traffic, let's say 45. So we drove over there, and then we drove back home to our CVS over here. And at CVS, they were like, no, we can't fill it because it's a narcotic. Like, and I was like, okay, like, you know, I'm like, okay. But it's a medical one. Like, I'm not trying to like finesse you. It's a medical one. They said no. Then I called another CVS, and then we went to two more. I went to two more pharmacies. What was it? I think the other one was a Rite Aid, and the other one, I don't know. But then we went to two others, and then I ended up just calling the surgery center. So the surgeon, and I was like, hey, and the nurse was a bit of a jackass, because I was like, hey, like, I just had my surgery, XYZ, this is my information. You guys sent me with this prescription, but I'm unable to fill it. And he's just like, oh yeah, that happens sometimes. How are you going to tell somebody that? I was like, what do you mean that? I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? And then he's like, well, if you can't get it, you know, you're either going to have to take like ibuprofen or something. Like, what? Like, and I tell you guys, like, that shit hurts. So I was like, you, sir, are an a-hole. But I'm telling you, I was so out of it. I didn't even have the time to be like, hey, dude, like, switch over your supervisor. Like, that's really messed up. Like, you're basically at this point, like, I'm out of it. You're just telling me basically, good luck, kiddo. So, then I called my surgeon's office, and I was like, hey guys, like, this is what's happening, because I was getting scared. But thankfully the nurse had given me the hard pill, that little tiny hard pill. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, I'm going to be okay for today. But if I don't have it tomorrow, I'm really going to be feeling it. So, I called my surgeon's office, and they're located like in downtown LA. So that's like another mission. And it was already like by the time I got out, it was like 1. So by the time we got home, it was like 1:40, 2 o'clock. So then we had to drive back over there. no food, no water. Like we had water in the car because I always keep that, but like no additional water, nothing fancy. And then we drove back over there, well, to the actual place where my surgeon was, not the surgical center, if that makes sense. So then we went over there, and then like I went to their pharmacy because it's a hospital. And I was just like, hey guys, explain what happened. They're like, oh my God, like we'll fill it up right now, like within 5 minutes. And they filled it out. And, thankfully, like, I was like, thank you guys, like, because I was still kind of groggy and Andrew was with me and everything. But it's still like, I was freaking out because I'm like, okay, now I'm going to wake up the next day and be in what I'm predicting at that moment to be excruciating pain. So I got it. Then we came back home. Then I kind of just got settled and I just stayed in bed for the majority of the day. Andrew brought me soup. So I had soup, water, so that was like the rotation, a lot of water. And then at nighttime, on the day of the operation is November 30th, that at nighttime, so December 1st, the pain came. So at that point I was feeling a lot of pain, so it was like kind of dull, and then you feel it and it builds up, and I was like, okay, this is it. Cool, this sucks. So I didn't have obviously any bowel movement. I was too scared to eat anything that was really solid. So that's why I was saying I was having like soups, broth, like simple, easy peasy. So I do recommend that, again, at your own discretion. But for me, I don't regret that because I cannot imagine having a high fibrous food and like a thick, like a hearty meal. Like, no, especially for me, the type of hemorrhoids that I had were internal and external. So the internal one obviously hurt the most, but the external one also hurt when when you have your bowel movement and the poop comes out. That was what it was like the worst. But the first day, numb. Second day in the morning, hurt. And then that's when I started taking the Vicodin. So the Vicodin kind of, it's Norco, but it's similar to it. It's like just kind of, you're out. So I would actually say that you should have at least like 2 weeks off of work if you can more. Honestly, I couldn't drive for around 3 weeks. It was still hurting my butt. So I couldn't really drive for around 3 weeks. And then obviously like I was intermittently taking the Vicodin Norco. So because of the Norco, obviously you're not 100%, so you can't really drive or do much. So I do recommend that you have a family member or a friend or a partner that can stay with you, just to check in on you, because it is very taxing on you because you don't know what's going on. You're just trying to heal yourself. So that happened. That was the first day. Then surgery day, and then the first day. And so that day it was just kind of like meh. So then I think up until day 3, I wasn't really much, I was kind of functioning like a robot. But then I started feeling a little bit better. And then, and by better, I mean I could just like get up and like walk to the bathroom. So I didn't have a bowel movement till like maybe the fourth or 5th day. And I will say, guys, the first bowel movement, it's no joke. It is no joke. I started eating a little more crackers, trying to get still. It was like the tiniest poop, guys. It hurt so bad. And I don't say this to scare you, but I'm going to be honest with you, because that's how I like receiving information. And all the folks that I would watch on YouTube that were talking about it, they were just blunt. They were like, it's going to freaking hurt. First bowel movement, horrible. This young lady actually compared it to childbirth. I don't have any children, but she says she'd rather have birthed another child than go through that pain. And you guys, and it got to the point where I would put music because I would be crying. I would be crying in the bathroom, like, and it was really gnarly. Like, I would hold like that, and then you're not even trying to, but it's just like you feel it there, and then it's the mix between the pain from the stitches and the inner, if you have an internal and external, you just feel it kind of tear a little bit. It really brought me to tears. It really brought me to tears. But the whole time I was just trying to be positive. I'm like, okay, like I will get better. And like I mentioned in my other videos, I asked the doctor before all this, I'm like, He's like, look, they're not that huge. They are prolapsing. It is annoying. I understand that. You don't have to, you know? But I told him, I'm like, look, I'm tired of it just popping out. I'm tired of lifting and it's just there. Like, I feel it. It inflames. It's bothersome. I don't like it, you know? It's not a cute look. And on top of that, I want to feel healthy. I don't want to feel like I always have an ailment sticking out of my butt, you know? So and he said, he's like, look, he's like, I can't guarantee 100%. And I told him, but can you guarantee at least 50% that I will feel better? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, okay, cut me. Do it. Do what you will. So that is also what I want to say to you guys. You guys have to think about it. If it's like hemorrhoids that you can live with and you don't mind, I don't know, popping it back in, you don't mind applying the RectiCare often, to numb it up, or, you know, you have your ways of doing it, like shrinking them up with the Sitz Bath, then sure. But this I would recommend if you are uncomfortable, if you feel it when you wake up, if you feel it when you're walking, you feel it when you're running, you know, it's just like your companion. It's just there. You already know it's there. It's just bugging you. You're sitting and you're just like, oh, there it is, you know, go to the bathroom. Oh, there it is. Like, for me, I was unable to go to the bathroom. I was just scared to go poop before all this, because I was just like, I don't know what I'm going to expect. You know, you know that sensation where, you kind of feel like you need to poop, but you don't know if you have to. So you're just stuck there. You're like, is it the hemorrhoid or poop? You know, and then that's true. It's, you know, it's a real situation. So a lot of you were coming to me and saying like, hey, like I felt this way too. Like, I feel this is what's happening. Thank you for speaking up on it. And it makes me feel good, because not too many people like talking about it. You know, they're like, oh yeah, I just want to look pretty and all that. But that's a real thing. Like, people deal with that, and that's something we need to normalize so then we can help each other out. So even though I'm not there with you, I'm rooting for you, and I'm like, hey, like, you got this. Here are a couple little tips. Maybe they can help you, maybe not, but at least like this will motivate you to go through with it if you have the opportunity to. Like, it is a gift if our medical system here in America is able to not deny you and able to help you out in that. I got denied. I had really good insurance with my parents. I got denied like 3 times. And then not until I went through my whole journey, I kept going and going and going. I'm like, no, it's hurting. It's bleeding. I'm not just going to stand for a mediocre life because it's easy for the insurance, you know, and not to get too political on that, but it was basically for me to be like, no, like, I don't feel good. I don't want to have a less quality of life. Like, if you're able to help me out, and I pay my taxes, if you're able to help me out and I can get this done, please help me. So that's what I'm saying. If you're on the edge, don't let that fear take over the fact that you can have a better life over this hump, literally. So all that to say, it does get better. So that first bowel movement, it is not a joke. It is not a joke. It will hurt you. And the double-edged sword with the Norco. Check this out. It helps you with the pain, but it also constipates you. Yeah. Yep. So obviously, where you're trying to consume a lot of water, because you're trying to, you know, make sure that like the stool gets as soft as possible. All throughout, I think for like 2 weeks, I was still having soup. So I incorporate just like the broths and all of that. And then I purchased the chicken noodle soup, and that's when I would have it. The one that I made with my mom was just broth, veggies and broth, like soup, like carrots, celery, broth. And that one I was still drinking. So, and I lost a few pounds with it. So I'm like, okay, like a little bit of a fine, but all jokes aside, like I felt a lot better. Immediately, I was like, I don't feel it there. Like, you know, and that's just such a weird sensation, but I think I could really appreciate it like at the 2nd week mark. I did a video on 8 days post-op, but I think at the 2nd week, I was really appreciative of it, you know. I felt good. I you know, I was able to at least like bend down a little bit. And for some reason, well, obviously, now that I think about it, it's because you're cut open down there, but I wasn't able to walk a lot of long distances. And I remember my surgeon was like, hey, once that happens, go walk. And I was like, what? I'm like, is that really going to be impacted? Duh. And we would go on walks in the evening, and then I would just look at the sunset, but I was like, I can't really walk that far. So I would walk like maybe like half a block, and then I'd come back, and me and Andrew and Ladybug would walk back, and I'd come back here, go in the tub. If you have a tub, the tub will be your friend. I would just put a little bit of warm water, warm to hot, to be honest, because that's what actually gets in the butt and like kind of not cauterizes it, but it just kind of like helps it heal a lot faster. And that's where the Sitz Bath comes in as well, because I was having trouble getting in and out of the tub, and I'm really independent, so I was like, I don't want to keep bothering Andrew with it. But, you know, I'd hear him and he's like, babes, like, do you need help? I'm like, yes, because it's really hard. And you also don't want to strain yourself too much or put yourself a lot of, like, don't try not to lift a lot of things, because, you know, you're still healing. So you don't want to tear that or pop any of the sutures and stuff, so of the stitches. So yeah, it is really much, you have to take care of yourself. So if you have children, I'm telling you, get a friend, partner, family member. And it freaking sucks because it's COVID, because if not, like, I know my mom would have been like right hand with Andrew and be like, no, we're taking care of her, you know. So I'm very lucky in that aspect. But, you know, we'd FaceTime every day, you know. I'd be like, we're fine. Andrew's like, you know, coming to bat, and he's doing good. He's helping me out. And yeah, I can't emphasize that enough. Like, it really did help to have a partner, because you're not alone in it. And, you know, if you're feeling a little bit shitty, you could just say, hey, I'm not feeling so good. You know, they'll keep note of it. I also was sent laxative, Colace laxative. Get that ahead of time as well. So we have the RectiCare and the Colace. The Colace to combat the Vicodin constipation. I would take one. Oh no, starting off I would take two actually. But start off at one. But I was just desperate because I'm like, after the first poop, I was like, I do not want to feel that again. But I would space it out, and then it would help me go, but it still hurts. You know, after the first bowel movement, like it will still hurt. It will still hurt, and I think I was still hurting. Yeah, till like almost like a week and a half, I was still hurting. And even sometimes the second week, I'd get like random bouts where I would just cry because it would just hurt so bad. Like it sucks because as you heal, it gets a lot harder, literally. So, and it gets harder when you push it out. So it's just a process, honestly, because then at that point, then I was like, okay, like, you know, you kind of know what you're feeling. And also for me, I wasn't too interested before all this in more fibrous foods, obviously, because, you know, as it came out with the hemorrhoids, it would still hurt like a mother effer. So what I have grown in that region is that I'm learning about fiber and what foods are good for your digestive system. And I told another subscriber that messaged me on Instagram, I said in the morning I have yogurt. I try to have yogurt, Greek yogurt, a drizzle of honey, fruits, you know, raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries, whatever I can get on it. Put some granola, and I add some chia seeds and flaxseed. So I'll do that, and I'll try to religiously incorporate chia seed and flaxseed, no matter what, into my diet throughout the day, so that way it helps me keep regular. And it really does. It really helps out. So now it's, you know, what, the 2.5, almost 3 months of post-op. I feel good. I feel good. The only thing that I have is micro tears. What do you mean, Ale? So when I go to the bathroom, sometimes it still tears a little bit. So I think when it started happening was January, like the middle of January. And I went to the bathroom, and I just went, and I was like, ugh. I felt like a little pop. So I think a stitch did the deed, and I started bleeding. It wasn't like profusely, but when I would wipe, you would see some blood. And then when you see the poo, it had like a little blood stain. So, you know, that's where I was like, okay, let me keep an eye on that. You know, kept an eye on it, had my first follow-up. told the doctor, I was like, hey, this is what's happening. He checked it out and he's like, you know, I can't see it. If you have a micro tear, that is common. So for me, it was common. When you go, you see like the blood, and also when you wipe, you see some of the blood. And I do feel like the discomfort because I'm like, okay, I feel it there. And it's not as I would take this over the hemorrhoid pain for sure. So that's what I was trying to tell my subscriber. I was like, look, I was like, honestly, it's uncomfortable. You know, obviously I don't like seeing blood, but you could feel inside like there's like a little tear. But I'd rather have that than the hemorrhoids bugging me all the time. So I just kept an eye on it because still I don't want to toot my own horn before I know that everything's okay. So, you know, I let him know. Then 2 weeks later, then I went to see him again, which was yesterday, in fact. And he checked it again. He's like, hey, it's looking good. I don't see anything. There's like little I guess where you could see the stitches. He's like, those will dissipate over time. And I'm like, I didn't even notice them. Honestly, I did not even notice them. So I feel good. And he was like, all right, great. He's like, so, you know, feel free to, he's like, all right, you look great. Feel free to do whatever you'd like now. And guys, I felt so happy with that because I don't know, it's just been so long. I've had hemorrhoids for like over 10 years. And I'm 29, so it's, yeah, most of my 20s were all with hemorrhoids. And you know, it feels good. Like I was able to start lifting again, and I was squatting in the back, and I told Andrew, I was like, I don't feel anything. Like I just feel obviously my legs squatting down, you know, my butt, but like my glutes, but I don't feel the pain and discomfort and weirdness that I felt when the hemorrhoid was just there, because it would just fill up, irritated instantly, and I would just commit to the workout, you know. But now it's a world of difference. So people would be like, yeah, you gotta squeeze her. I'm like, I can't, it hurts. Is that normal? No, you know. But it was to the point where I would work out and I would have to stop working out for like 2 weeks because I would have the flare up and it was really gnarly. And then I couldn't really walk comfortably because of that. When I would sit down, the first thing I would feel was the pain. So I'm really grateful because, like I said before, like, don't give up, because I'm so happy. Like, I can walk and not think about it. Like, I can sit and not think about it. The only thing that I have is just the micro tear. But like I'm saying, like, ever since the first visit to the doctor, it's been healing, it's been healing, it's been healing. So my hope and my prayer for this is that by the 6th month, I'll be a lot better. And I'll be sure to talk about it with you guys. But yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and paint out kind of the timeline, and, you know, hopefully this was helpful to you guys in your journey. If you have any additional questions, please let me know down below, or if I missed something, let me know down below. I just get involved in the chattiness of it and letting you guys know what I went through. So again, hopefully this helps you guys out. If you're interested in watching my other videos, I have nail tutorials, nail polish talks, makeup talks, things that I'm building and sewing. And you can follow my company, Ready Great Movement. So that is an athleisure brand, and I'm gonna have all the information down below for you guys. Otherwise, follow me on Instagram and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye. Stay well. Good luck.